Yeah, it's amazing. It's only a 6-horse, and I believe it's a 28-inch, and it does really good for being only a 6. I always figured when the engine goes bad, I'll swap out the block for an 8-horse block, and I'll put the old parts on it so it has the old look still. But so far, the 6-horse is just still running strong. The impeller is just on a centrifugal clutch, so it's just kind of free floating just from its own pressure, and like the grease is thick and stuff in there. But if you were to put that into any snow right now, it would stop. But you got the auger, which has a slip clutch on the wheel, so if you were to hit something hard with the auger would stop turning. I don't have my little wheels on here right now for when you're on cement. I took them off because the shoulder bolts were seized up, and I can't remember where the heck I put them. So, but what I plan to do, because one problem with this machine is it had a tendency to want to climb over compacted snow. So I do want to put like some pieces of angle iron that's actually stick down. Jacobson actually did it on theirs with their dog eater style auger, and what it does, it hooks under any crust to help keep the auger from pulling the machine up over top of the pile. So I do plan on adding some of those. I also want to add some drift cutters on here, and because I do get drifts sometimes that are taller than this. And another thing is, if I have the fingers here sticking down, and I have the the crotch bars that you smash into with your shin, your crotch and stuff, those things, it also would make it easier to tip this on its nose to service it. You do got your little grease caps here. Make sure you oil those now and then for your axle. The recoil was broken when I got it, and I was going to put a new recoil on it, and then I decided, I was like, nah, I'm going to convert it to electric start. So, you got a high and low foot transmission in it, so you shift it back and forth with your foot. The centrifugal clutch is operated with a squeeze, it's got a squeeze throttle set up. So if the transmission's in gear, this, because it's got a Lovejoy cup link between the impeller and the transmission. So when the clutch is engaged, it gets the transmission really spinning and all that. Forward reverse, there's this, half the time it always wants to kick out of reverse. Or it doesn't want to kick out, I'm sorry. There is a spring that's supposed to help kind of pull it back into neutral, so if you were to fall, but just, I don't know, it just doesn't do what it's supposed to do, but I mean, it does stop. So, and then of course, you get your for forward. So right now it's in forward. Let's see. Yep, the impeller is stopped. So transmission's in gear. It doesn't, with the centrifugal clutch, it's not spinning fast enough. When you let off the throttle, it winds down enough so you can actually shift without damaging the transmission. The one part I've not been able to find a bushing this size. This bushing is actually still good, surprisingly, for its age. It actually is very tight. But still, I prefer to have extra parts on hand for stuff I use like this. Oh, man, it's very sad. About it there. So, you don't really want to back up when there's something behind you, because it takes a while for that assembly, the impeller and all that, doing centrifugal force to wind down enough to get the thing to go back into neutral sometimes. The scraper on these, it's adjustable, so as it wears you can move it down, and when that side's worn out you flip it over, and then you can use the other side and adjust until it wears down. To tighten your chain for your auger, you loosen these and your auger assembly moves forward, and that's what tightens that. There's a jack shaft inside here for a sprocket to the transmission that goes to the jack shaft and then goes down to the axle. That one you actually have to adjust. These, and it kind of swings in and out, and that tightens the two chains in there. To tighten the chain that goes from the centrifugal clutch down to the main drive, you add shims, or subtract shims under the engine. I currently need to add some shims. The handle, there should be an extension on here, which is long broken off, and I don't have any like that, so I just have a piece of fuel line for doing my choke lever, which works fine. Then of course your off button is just a grounding button. Now originally this only had a 2-hole adjustment. I filed 4 more holes in here, and that's so I can actually rotate the chute into far more different areas, because it was always kind of in between where I wanted it. So I have a belt cover I made for here so no one loses any fingers, but I just haven't put it on. Like I said, it's got like a rotating drum on here. I'm not really a fan of this design. It works, it's a lot more parts. Now if I was really, if it bothered me enough, what I would eventually do is just simply either put a plate here, like bolt the 2 halves together, or a couple tack welds, and I would have it where the chute itself just rotates instead of the drum. It just doesn't bother me enough. I don't really care for it as much, but you know, it's fine. I've only ever had this thing plug up once, and what actually plugged was the augers were solid. They froze solid like a huge barrel of snow, and I had to actually chisel it out. It was very wet that day, but I've not had the chute plug yet. I kind of want to put some rubber extensions on the impeller, but I can't go as close as I would like, because since this drum's got to rotate, you know, I don't want too much pressure on the drum. Now, a 2-speed transmission, usually we use it in second and it does just fine. We occasionally we'll use it in first, but normally in second gear the thing handles just fine. You know, it's got an actual transmission. There is no there's no belts on this like the model that replaced this that doesn't have the rotating barrel. Or, you know, it's quite easy to recognize the one that replaced this. I mean, the housing comes out past and everything. That style is belts and friction drive. It does have a chain to the auger still, but other than that, the drive system is completely different. So I would like to get my an extra set of tires for this one day. Just because the things I use a lot, I prefer to have stuff on hand if I need it, because it's hard to get certain things, and when you're running an old piece of equipment, it makes sense to have parts on hand. Like I said, I have an 8-horse engine block that I could throw on this if I ever wanted, but 6-horse runs fine. It can probably run fine for a lot more years. It's not like the new engines where even with regular service, they are still designed to fail. You can maintain a modern Briggs, Kohler, Kawasaki, any of them, all you want. Proper oil changes with the proper grade oil, filters, run them how they say, and they still are designed to fail. If you ever open up one of those compared to one of these, the parts are just cheap as hell. I do actually have a dipstick assembly that I can put on this. To attach, you actually have to, I believe it's this bolt removed. I couldn't find it at the time, last time I had this off, so I didn't worry about it. But this one's not as bad, but some of those old Briggs and Kohler, or not Kohler, Chomsky, they're just a pain to put oil in. This one, hoods up, it's not terrible. But, oh, actually another interesting thing about this 6-horse, it doesn't have your standard governor. This has actually got an air vane governor in it. I'm not exactly sure why it's got an air vane governor versus the other 6-horses that has a mechanical governor, but it works just fine, so I'm not going to worry about it. And again, to shut this thing off, simply hold that in, shuts off. And this is a 1964 model.